Hey guys, Happy New Year 2017. I hope you can see and hear me. If you cannot hear me, please drop a chat right now and let me know that you can't hear the audio. Can you hear me all right? Just see if... Yeah, apologies. I was trying to set it up and of course things go wrong last minute. And what essentially happened is I have a Wi-Fi device that I bought for going live, which is a high-speed internet device. Of course, it failed. So I don't use that. Right now, I'm on my phone. I'm essentially tethering on my phone. If the quality drops off or you can't hear me, drop me a comment in the YouTube chat so that I will be aware of that and I can fix it up. Cool, excellent, great. So we are online. And wow, okay. I have to precursor. Yeah, Happy New Year to everyone. Happy New Year. Pretty exciting to get started. First time ever live event, so obviously I don't have the benefit of being able to edit out anything stupid I might say or dealing with any technical issues. And the reason I'm looking over to the right so much is because that's where I have Facebook, Twitter, and the YouTube chat. So you can drop me questions on there. And I'm gonna have to go through some of these questions. It's great to see people from all over the world. There's people from India, people from Germany, America. It's really cool to have everyone on your live. Yeah, happy 2017 to everyone joining now. And maybe let's start with some of these questions because this is starting. Yes, I am indeed wearing the t-shirt that I like to wear in my videos as well. I just kind of like these nerdy, fun shirts. I tend to get them all online if you're wondering where I get them. Usually Threadless, and there's a few other places. You can just search for nerdy shirt online. There's tons of them, so you can find lots of good ones. People want to know where I got my t-shirts from. Okay, so first off, let me go to my list of things I actually want to talk about because there are a few points I want to touch on first, and then I'm going to go through all of these questions that I'm getting. So be patient a little bit. Let me just pull that up. Cool. Obviously, Happy New Year if you're still joining in. So I've kind of covered that point. Now, obviously, as you know, I've gone a little bit quiet over the last few weeks, and people are going, oh, it's like, oh yeah, just take a break, take a bit of a rest, which, well, I kind of half did. I also spent a lot of time over the last 3 weeks actually preparing for more tutorials, because as I mentioned in my last video, I was getting a little bit, not burnt out, it was just getting a bit tiresome, always just focusing on the short term for, next week. What video do I want to make for next week? Rather than what would be a great thing to do and not care so much about how long that might take me to do. Whereas I've spent a lot of time in the last 3 weeks preparing for a new tutorial. So if you're watching, there's going to be a new tutorial or the first part of a new tutorial coming out next weekend. So I'm pretty on track for releasing that, and it'll be a bit of a bigger effect. So it'll be a bit more involved, it'll be a bit more advanced, but hopefully it'll also just be a lot more fun. And obviously, I'm spending a lot of time learning new things at the moment, especially if you're talking about wanting to create some more advanced visual effects, some disintegration or destruction effects, or some of the really cool things you see on TV, you're not going to get around working a little bit in 3D and integrating that all back into After Effects. So I have been spending a lot of time learning different tools and trying to figure out what do I actually want to use. And there's obviously people asking me here whether I'm going to make tutorials for things like Blender and whatnot, or Cinema 4D. Now, I've looked quite a bit into Cinema 4D because it's quite nicely integrated with Adobe After Effects and the Cineware plugin. I've also picked up 3D Studio Max again just to learn a little bit of that. The other tool I've started looking into as well is Houdini, which has been coming up in the industry quite big because you can do a lot of really cool stuff with it. Now, it's massively complex, probably the most complicated one I have ever tried, but it does look quite promising. So I'm kind of still trying to figure out what do I really want to invest most of my time in to learn and then use for visual effects, but I'll keep all of you up to date with that. So, but yeah, next tutorial will be on Sunday next weekend. Sunday Australia time, Sunday night Australia time, usually ends up being in the evening on the Saturday. If you're in the Americas, in India, I think it'll be in the morning on this Sunday, and then depending on Australian internet speed, it might be the Monday, because Australian internet is actually pretty slow. So So far, the stream seems to be quite healthy. I've got some stats here running off my phone, so that seems to be working okay at the moment. But obviously, we'll see how this tracks throughout the show. So other things, let's jump into some questions, because quite honestly, I'm going to start. I'm going to start losing track of all the questions coming through. So let's have a look at some of these questions. How long have I been using Adobe After Effects? Now, I've actually started about 5 or 6 years ago. I think I've told the story before. I kind of ended up seeing some of Freddie W's videos on YouTube, and I was really stunned because it was consumer. You know, it was a bunch of friends doing it in their free time. It wasn't a movie studio. It was really cool stuff. And it was like a couple of years ago, and then I figured, well, what are they using? I figured out they're using Adobe After Effects predominantly to do a lot of the visual effects, and I got into Adobe After Effects, started watching a lot of tutorials, especially on Video Copilot. If you're not yet on Video Copilot and you haven't seen their videos yet, go check them out. They have a lot of great stuff on there. It is quite advanced, but there's a lot of really cool effects, and it just got me sucked into After Effects. And so, yeah, it's probably been about 5-6 years, and pretty consistently. I've been using it quite consistently, so I feel pretty comfortable with the tool now. And it kind of happens with any software you might pick up. If you spend enough time with it, you're really going to know all of the ins and outs after a little bit. So there's a question coming up as well. 32-bit float setup in After Effects, worth it or not? Now, yes, most of the time I do work in 32-bit float. Now, let me quickly jump over into After Effects. There we are. Again, do let me know immediately if you can't see it or if you can't hear me, because I'm switching scenes. I want to make sure the audio is still coming through. Now, in Adobe After Effects, one of the things that I always do, especially if you're dealing with things like glow. So right now, you can see down here, I'm in 32 bits. If you alt-click onto this, you can change this over to, for example, 8-bit, 16-bit, or 32. Now, one of the things that happens a lot, if, for example, you have a piece of text, let's make that a little bit bigger, and let's center align it. If you work with anything that has gradients like glow, lightning, a lot of particles, a lot of soft transparencies and whatnot, one of the things that will always happen if I add a glow to this, and let's really jack this up, these glows don't work very well because it's got a lot of soft gradients. And again, I'm not sure how clear that comes through on the stream, just because obviously the stream is going to be a little bit lower bit rate than my screen. But one of the things that happens, if you have a lot of gradients and you're working in 8 bits per channel, your composition is limited to the amount of colors it can use and the amount of gradients it can render. So if you work with any of those ones, I always switch to 32 bits per channel. Let's see if this actually makes a difference. Maybe I need to pump this up a little bit more. Why is this not coming through as clearly as I want to? Maybe I'll do something else. Let's create a black solid. And what I'm going to do is on here, I'm going to chuck a free plugin that you can get from Video Copilot called Saber. Awesome plugin, highly recommended. I'm still planning on doing a tutorial for it, but if you haven't yet, Andrew Kramer has a great tutorial on his channel already for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch this over to go text layer and switch that over to my text. And maybe let's bring down the glow a little bit. Now, these ones are very intense glows and it's very gradient rich. This doesn't work too well in 8 bits per channel. Again, I don't know whether you can actually see this. The gradient kind of degrades a little if I go down to 8-bit. So yes, a lot of the time I do work in 32 bits per channel. Unless you actually notice the difference, you may not even have to switch to 32 bits per channel, because obviously it's going to go a little bit slower. But very long answer to that question. But yes, I do use a lot of 32 bits per channel. Again, depends on what you're doing. Also, in terms of where you actually get these plugins, obviously you go to the Video Copilot website. However, on Video Copilot website, there isn't an easy way to find the free plugins. You can find all of their great, well, I'm lying. There was just an ad for FX Console, which is another great free one. But what you can actually do is you can actually come into Google and search for Video Copilot Saber. And then right at the top, Saber now available. So you get a tutorial for how to use it and download links to them. So go grab that. It's free. It's great. I've been using it quite a lot lately, and you'll see it in some upcoming videos and potentially tutorials, but obviously I don't want to just watch this. This is 40 minutes of awesomeness with using the Saver plugin. Highly recommended. So let's quickly come back to my face. Yes, I see your question. You don't need to repeat it 40, 50, 60 times. In terms of tutorials, especially for 3D programs, a lot of people like to use Blender because Blender is free. Now, if you're using After Effects, I think it's CC or above, you will actually get Cinema 4D Lite included with Adobe After Effects. Personally, I prefer it. It feels a bit cleaner. I haven't used Blender too much, to be honest. Now, there are some great free tools, like you can use Blender, but it's not. I'm not a 3D artist. I'm not great at modeling. I'm not great at animating, and you probably don't want to see me trudging through tutorials trying to build something in 3D because it's going to be pretty bad. The one tool that I've started picking up for 3D work is actually Houdini. Now, Houdini, the reason I like it is because it's a procedural modeling animation tool. It's very, very complex, but it allows you to do a lot of things that you can't do in your traditional 3D packages, like destructions, physics, volumes, fire, explosions. A lot of those dynamic elements are part of the integral workflow for Houdini. So you can build those really complex simulations directly in Houdini. You don't need any plugins for it. It comes, well, out of the box. Again, it is really complicated, but you don't need plugins. I've always wanted to do more 3D destruction. Cinema 4D Lite, unfortunately, doesn't have physics. Cinema 4D does have physics integrated, but I find them a bit fiddly. They work nice for simple scenarios, but building big scale, like large scale destruction effects doesn't really work too well in Cinema 4D, in my personal opinion. I've used 3ds Max, and there's a great plugin for 3ds Max called Rayfire, which allows you to destroy things, and that has much more control than what you get in Cinema 4D. I really like it. Again, because I'm not a 3D artist, probably, I don't find it as intuitive. Whereas in Houdini, you can actually procedurally generate a lot of these destruction effects, and you don't need any plugins for it. So I've kind of been looking more and more into that. So I'm kind of leaning down towards Houdini. Also, yes, Blender is free, but if you want to go for Cinema 4D, 3ds Max, or Maya, now those packages are really, really expensive. They cost thousands of dollars per person per year, and people always assume I make, a fortune off YouTube. I don't. I get a little bit of extra pocket money, which is nice, but it's not enough to really afford these huge software packages. Now, Houdini, I can actually get a license for Houdini, a yearly license. It's called an indie license for $200 I believe it is. And it allows me to use the tool commercially, as long as I don't make more than like $100,000, which I'm still pretty far from. So I'm kind of leaning going down the Houdini route. But again, it's a little early. I've just been spending the last few weeks looking into a lot of different tools and learning bits and pieces. But it's all going to come out. And I'm obviously going to keep you up to date with all the new stuff that's happening. So let's go back to some questions because, oh, wow, we've already been into the show 20 minutes. Well, 15 minutes if you take out the technical difficulties at the start. So let's come back to some questions. Can I link to Houdini? Yes, I can. Just go to www.sidefx.com, or you can just Google Houdini. This is Houdini, and then down here you can go and Houdini. It's a lot of destruction. Oh, maybe I should switch over to my desktop view so you can actually see it. So if you go to www.sidefx.com, this is the link that'll take you through getting Houdini. Down here, some cool stuff that you can do, like water destruction, a lot of physics, a lot of very organic-y things. And then all you do is you go get, download. You can also get an absolutely free version. It's called the Apprentice versions. That's what I'm using at the moment. So you just have to create a free account. It doesn't cost you anything. Get the Apprentice version, which is absolutely free. You can do anything you want with it, but obviously you can't use it for commercial purposes. But then again, for $200 US, you can get the indie version, which allows you to work commercially for up to $100,000 US. Also, if you are someone who's looking to get into the actual visual effects industry, if that is really where you want to go, Houdini is a great tool to use because a lot of people who've been using more traditional tools like 3ds Max, Maya, RealFlow, they're starting to switch over to Houdini. Now, The one thing with Houdini, though, is because everything is procedural, it can get quite slow because you're essentially simulating real-world physical phenomena. So your computer has to essentially simulate the physics involved in those things. And it can get quite slow, but I think the reason why I like Houdini and I kind of see it as a good tool going forward into the future is because computers are getting more powerful. Computers are getting bigger and beefier and they can do more calculations. And as that scales up, all of those real-world phenomena simulations are becoming quicker and quicker to do, and it'll start just working a lot more smoothly. And so I do really like Houdini for that. Try it out. It is very, very complex. I've been spending quite a bit of time just watching videos and tutorials on it. It can do your head in a little bit, but it's a great tool. And yeah, I'm not sure, but I think I might end up going down the Houdini route. Again, not 100% set yet, but I'm just having a look into it. So let's come back to my face. So let's go for more. Yes, hopefully you can very much expect to see some creative visual effects and tutorials. And again, this is kind of part of me wanting to learn more 3D, more, more big scale effects. They'll take longer to create, but they'll just be more impressive. And then obviously I have to figure out how to actually break them down into tutorials that, you can rebuild and follow along. But my plan is very much to start getting out of this. It needs to be a video every week to let's make something awesome. And then, I can make different videos for that to explain different parts of how to build those effects and just get you into the more large-scale stuff, just because personally that's kind of where I would love to go. It requires a lot of time. You need to be quite skilled. After Effects, as I always mention, and I have a video on the limitations of After Effects. If you haven't seen it yet, highly recommend it, because people assume that movie scale effects are done in After Effects. They're not. After Effects is just for compositing. Now, I've recently heard that apparently compositors are a little bit derogatively called sandwich artists, because technically what you're doing, and again, it's obviously not as simple, but you're essentially compositing visual layers that were created somewhere along the pipeline of your film production, and you're compositing them together. So you've already got rendered elements, you've got physics, you've got smokes, you've got all sorts of other elements that you can kind of push together to form your final visual element. Obviously, that's still quite a complex task to do it well, and there's work involved there. But obviously, before you even get to the compositing, you have 3D artists, you have physics simulations, water simulations, 2D artists, motion trackers, camera tracking, motion capture, all sorts of other bits and pieces of work that generate the footage that then goes into the compositing. And After Effects really is just for that compositing part. That's so sorry, I'm just questions everywhere. I'm trying to keep up with everything. So yeah, obviously After Effects is for the compositing part, just like Nuke, for example, is an alternative is a node-based version or node-based compositing tool, similar to After Effects. It basically just does the compositing of it, except I think Nuke is a bit more extensive. Again, highly worth checking out. I've been trying to sneak a peek into it as well, but just haven't had the time to really look into it. But yeah, because After Effects really is just for the compositing, the effects that you can do are mainly limited to 2D, because obviously everything is 2D layers. Now there's plugins like Element 3D, which I've been using extensively, that brings 3D capabilities into After Effects, but you still don't get things like physics or, like physically based rendering, volumetric lights, and some of the more advanced 3D stuff. And so you're still limited in what you can do in After Effects, and unless you expand, which is what I'm trying to do, you're probably going to be limited to the smaller visual effects. Obviously, you can fake a lot of things in 2D and in After Effects, which, quite honestly, depending on your budget and your time and how much you really want to invest, you may have to do anyways. But yeah, I definitely do want to go down the route of learning more 3D, building more of that pipeline into my tutorials, and then just taking you across that journey of learning some new stuff. So hopefully it'll actually end up being fun. So what else do we have? Let's look at more. Can you motion track in Houdini? No, Houdini, as far as I know, and again, I've only spent about a week and a half now on learning Houdini. I don't believe Houdini has motion tracking inbuilt. I know 3ds Max does, but personally, I've actually been using Mocha a lot, or even in After Effects, you can use the 3D camera tracker. It's actually pretty decent for most simple shots. Other than that, I've been using Mocha, like the Mocha plugin. I have some tutorials on my channel, and I will create some more just because I'm liking Mocha. Like now that I'm starting to get a hang of it, and I don't feel like weird stuff is happening and I have no idea what's going on anymore. I'm starting to get a handle of what is actually happening in Mocha and how can I get good tracks. So I'm definitely want to cover a little bit more of that, but I'll probably track it in Mocha, then export that either into After Effects, or you can export as an FXB, as a Filmbox format, and that you can actually import into Houdini. Same with other programs like 3ds Max, Cinema 4D, Maya. You can export usually from your tracking software, be that Synthesize, Mocha, PF Track, whatever you want to use. You can export that into like an FXB or a different format that can then be read by your 3D software. Then you can do your work in your 3D software, you render that out, and then you bring it back into a compositing tool like After Effects or Nuke, and then you obviously bring it all together and kind of form the final image. So, ja, ich bin Deutsch. Yes, I'm German. I've already answered that in my Q&A. If you haven't seen my Q&A, I have an official Q&A on my channel. So just go to youtube.com/Surface Studio and search for Q&A or official Q&A on there. It'll come up. I do answer quite a lot of common questions that I get on there already, so I'm going to skip them for this particular live stream just because it's been answered already. Where do I get my sound effects? Again, just come onto my YouTube channel. I'm actually going to take you there for a second just because I get too many people asking me. So if I go to youtube.com/Surface Studio, on my channel, no, I don't want to go Video Manager. I just want to go to my channel. How do I go to my channel? Just show me my channel. View channel. That's what I want. Videos. Up in my YouTube channel at the very top here, you'll have a search, and in here, I don't know, people don't seem to find this. You can find things like if I go sound effects or sound effect. In here, I have a video on best music and sound effects for filmmaking, so you can actually check that out. I do talk a lot about different sources of sounds, like I use Pro Scores from Video Copilot quite a lot. The other one I've been using, Triune Store. So this is Film Riot or Ryan Connolly stuff. So he's got lots of sound packs. One of the ones I really like is the Lord of War sound bundle. That's really cool. It's got a huge amount of sound and gun effects, especially in it. Now it's kind of cool. The other one I've been using as well is from actionvfx.com. So if you go to actionvfx.com, they actually have sound effects packs as well now. I think it's under the gun effects. Yep, so there's like gun sound effects, bullet hit sounds. There's quite a lot of different sources that I get them from. If you want to get free stuff, you can actually come into freesound.org. And freesound.org I use quite a lot. So if I go gun sounds or something, the reason I like Freesound is because it does allow me to filter things by Creative Commons Zero. And that means these sound effects here that are released under the Creative Commons Zero license are absolutely free to use. I can use them and I don't have to reference where do they come from. Not that I don't like giving credit, but if I use 50 different sound effects from different sources, I'm going to have a huge credits list at the end. So freesound.org is pretty cool. Pro Scores from Motion Pulse is great as well. I've downloaded that the other day. It's like 3 gigabytes of sound effects from Video Copilot as well. Really good. Triune, again, the Lords of War bundle especially. Action VFX or otherwise Freesound. You can also just Google free sound effects. There's a huge amount of stuff. Even YouTube has their own audio library now. So again, there's a lot of sources where I get my sound effects from. It's not just one place. And I kind of pull them together and then just pick and choose and chop and change and transform them and do other stuff with them just to get the right sound in the end. So, how's Walter? Walter's asleep, fortunately. I've got the door closed, so I'm not disturbing him. And I really hope he doesn't wake up so I can get through this. Which film company would I work for? I don't actually know. Now, there are some companies that I really respect for what they do. Personally, one of the companies I would actually like doing films for, quite frankly, is Netflix. I've gotten onto Netflix well, not recently, but I've started watching more and more Netflix original shows, and I'm really impressed by the quality. Netflix actually has a whole arm in their company that really is just a filmmaking arm, and they're extending into Hollywood, and they're, what did I watch the other day? Like Narcos. Like, it's a hugely well produced show. It's movie quality stuff, and it's coming out of a company that started distributing videos online. So I think that would be really exciting. Also because it's very modern, it's online distributed, and I'm a big fan of the online distribution model because I don't like the whole idea of having movies released at different times in different countries. I like this release it online at once for everyone's model that Netflix is doing, but also because I do really like the quality. Like, the cinematography is great for a lot of the Netflix shows. The production value, there's great visual effects in them. So I think that's probably where I would like to work. Obviously, and this is kind of one of the things that a lot of people fall into. I get a lot of questions around people wanting to work in the visual effects industry or in the film industry. Now, because I personally have not actually worked directly in a film industry, my brother did work in the industry for about 10 years, so I did get quite a bit of insight into the actual industry through him, but personally I haven't worked in it. Now, I think it depends very much on the company, but a lot of people kind of romanticize the idea of how it'll be to work in those films. I know a lot of people who are quite really proud to have worked on certain motion features and certain movies, and I'd love to be involved in some form or fashion. However, I know that depending on the role you have, it may be extremely long hours, especially if it's a production that kind of runs under budget and they're trying to crunch through it. It may be extremely long hours and not necessarily the most exciting of work, especially if you, absolutely no offense to people who do rotoscoping. Personally, if I do rotoscoping for more than a day, maybe a day and a half in one go, it's just starting to drain me. I know it's a really big skill set to really rotoscope well, but you may be doing that for a whole project, just rotoscoping work, and you may be just building a single physics simulation or a single water simulation, and it's all exciting stuff. But I think just be aware that don't just romanticize. At the end of the day, you're still going to have to do the work, and not all the work is going to be always exciting. Now, obviously, if you work on something like, I don't know, Star Wars or Marvel or some of the really big movies, it's kind of really cool to be a part of it. But just be aware that reality may not be as great and as pleasant as you may make it out to be. There's a lot of hard work involved, a lot of long hours, essentially, especially in smaller studios where the budgets aren't as big. But yeah, I think if I had to choose a company, I probably would want to try out Netflix just to see what it's like, just because it's a modern online world, and I kind of, yeah, I just respect what they do. Well, my favorite software for compositing, obviously, at the moment is After Effects, because I've been using it for about 5-6 years. So I feel really comfortable. I know exactly what it can and can't do. I have been looking at expanding out a little bit into Nuke just to see how it compares in terms of the capabilities, whether it's more capable or less capable. Maybe there's some things that I can do in Nuke that I can't do in After Effects, which would be cool to learn, but also just expand my skill set. So what else? I have, again, it's part of my Q&A. I have been living in Australia for about 13 years and a little bit. So I've been in Australia for a long time. Obviously, my main language in Australia is English, because that's what people speak here. I still speak German when I talk to my family. And obviously, I've grown up with German, so, ich kann es immer noch sprechen. Klingt vielleicht mittlerweile ein bisschen langsam, oder klingt vielleicht mittlerweile ein bisschen seltsam, but I still speak German. It's gonna have a little bit of an English slang on it by now, just because I've been speaking English for 13 years, so it's kind of, that's just what happens. So there you go, Adrian. Da war ein bisschen Deutsch für dich. Adrian? Adrian? Wie sagt man das auf Deutsch? Hat das überhaupt... Okay, so... Could you please... So, I've been wanting to pronounce some of these names that I'm seeing in the chat here, but I can't actually pronounce some of them, I think. So there's one here from Utah V Plays. Utah V Plays. Could you please tell about storytelling in compositing? Now, if you want to storytell in compositing, there's two things here. A, if you're thinking about storytelling as in the story of the movie, in compositing, you're too late. Storytelling should happen before you even get out your camera. You should figure out what story do I want to tell. Now, so again, that type of story you cannot do in compositing. However, in compositing, the one thing that you can do is you can give certain shots a certain feel, a certain vibe. You can make a shot really warm and yellow and, you know, feel really comfortable and nice. Or you can drain all the color and make it really dark and gloomy. So you have power over how an individual shot might feel in compositing, or, well, technically in color correction, in color grading already you do, which, you know, you may do at some point, either before or after your compositing. Personally, I like to do color grading after compositing, because what happens in compositing is essentially you're sticking a bunch of layers together, right? So you kind of imagine that's your sandwich. You're literally making a sandwich. You put, you know, some bread on there, some salad, some cheese, and some ham and other things, and so you're kind of putting that together. Now, that's still individual layers, but if you then put it through color grading or a process that affects all layers at once, for example, you put it into a sandwich maker, all of them get bound together a bit nicer, and it just feels a little bit nicer as a whole. So by applying color grading or effects over all of the layers that you've composited together, you kind of bind them together a bit nicer, because they all get the same type of treatment, and it kind of combines them a little bit nicer usually, and it comes out a little bit more feeling like one whole as opposed to little bits and pieces of layers. So I like to do the color grading at the end. But again, in terms of storytelling for compositing, you have control over an individual shot, but you can't really change the story, right? You're just working on one shot to composite. So storytelling, if that's what you really mean, start before you even take out your camera, write it on paper, write a story out, make a storyboard, something that tells the story before you even get to shooting, because at compositing level, which is pretty much at the very end or almost at the very end of the pipeline, you're probably a little bit too late. Let's go to some more question. So here's one from Sahil Kumar. How do you make all those awesome animations such as stick figures, if you know what I'm talking about? Now, I'm assuming that you are referring to some of the animations that you sometimes see on my videos, like little overlays or little stick figure animations and whatnot. I actually draw quite a few things with my tablet. I've got like a little, what I have here, it's like a little Wacom tablet. It was pretty cheap. It's just a really small one. It's just a simple version. It doesn't have all the fancy features. But I kind of just draw them out on paper, or I use shapes and masks in Adobe After Effects. And then you can just use like the stroke effect, for example, to animate stuff coming in and going out. So for example, maybe that's, I know it may not be the most exciting thing, but people keep asking me about it. So let's just jump into After Effects for a second. Let's get rid of this one. And let's say one of the things that I tend to do, so let's create a new solid. Let's call that masks, for example. Let's just create a mask here. And one of the things I like to do is, right now you can't see the mask because it's black on black. However, one effect I use a lot is actually just a stroke effect. Generate stroke. It's part of, probably After Effects 6, like back in the 90s. It's a really basic effect. I think it's been there forever. And what this allows you to do, you can actually select a path or mask path, and you can give it a size. And so essentially you just have it's actually just stroking, or it's just doing an outline of your mask. But what you can do is you can actually animate the end. So you can kind of animate things coming in and out. Let me hide the masks. So I do these things a lot, where I have things that are being drawn and they're being, you know, drawn out like that. The other one I use a lot as well is just a fill, so generate fill. And it works exactly the same way. You select your mask you want to fill, and then you can obviously just, you know, have that come in and out. And so a lot of the little animations that I do, overlays, stick figures, stuff coming in and out of the screen, I kind of just do with these stroke or fill effects. And I just have some masks on my layer where I just animate them as I need to and sync it up with the tutorial. So it's actually really nice and easy. Very simple. But yeah, it works quite nice. So let's jump back onto the questions. Da, da, da. Yes, people asking, Tigra, Halinda, and by the way, Jeff, thank you very much for answering a whole bunch of questions on the channel already. It's kind of nice because I am a bit slow on keeping up with everything. So I really appreciate that you're helping out and answering a whole bunch of questions there. What is your favorite? Okay, so Kiran K, what is your favorite 3D tracker to use? Now, my personal favorite 3D tracker, aside from the 3D camera tracker in After Effects, let me see, what can I pull up for that? Maybe I'll just pull that one up for now and see if I have some stuff in here. Let's pull this one in. Now, one of my favorite trackers is actually Mocha. I use Mocha quite a lot for tracking. Mocha, and I have a tutorial for that. Mocha now comes as a plugin, and again, I do have a tutorial on the plugin as well. The reason I like Mocha, especially now that it's integrated with After Effects, is because I can just take any clip that I have. I can literally just launch Mocha straight from After Effects. And then in Mocha, you know, you can obviously define your planes and do all of the tracking. From here, once I've got everything tracked in Mocha, I can either export that straight back into After Effects because the two are essentially linked together, or I can export it as like an FXB, for example, and bring it into Houdini or 3ds Max and do some other cool stuff in here. So right now, and again, I'm still learning this software. It always feels really easy when a lot of software, Houdini excluded, most softwares, when I first use them, it feels really simple. It's like, oh yeah, you know, click a few buttons, there you go, you got something. But then when you try to use them for actual film projects, like you actually seriously try to track something, you find all of these weird little issues, like, you know, you shoot your clip on, you know, you've missed something. Oh yeah, you know, the frames are a little bit too blurry. I didn't have my shutter speed high enough, so therefore I can't track this properly. Or, you know, oh, there's this weird camera move, and for some reason it's throwing off the tracker, and you then have to deal with all of these little issues. And I'm still learning Mocha. Mocha is great. There's still a lot of things that I don't know, and sometimes weird things happen, like my track slips, and I don't know why. I look at them like, everything looks fine to me. But it's just because I haven't used the tool enough, and the more I use it, the more I feel all of these little things that didn't make sense now start to make sense. And as I expand my knowledge in Mocha, you will see more tutorials for it as well, because it is actually really great, especially Mocha Pro, which is the plugin that I have, which is the paid version of Mocha. So this one doesn't come with After Effects. It has some really cool features like Camera Solve, which gives you a 3D camera solve. So it's essentially doing what the 3D camera tracker does in After Effects, except that this one you have more control over how all of this tracking works. You can deal with some issues that the 3D camera tracker in After Effects couldn't deal with. You can obviously insert stuff. You can remove elements as well, and this one is really exciting. Quite complicated as well. You can actually remove elements from moving shots, and that in itself, actually, very, very quickly, there's a great tutorial on YouTube. If I just go to youtube.com and search for Ren the Reaper, what is this called? This projection mapping. This one here, this tutorial, if you search Ren the Reaper projection mapping, this is actually a really great tutorial that shows you how to remove moving objects from a moving shot. So he's actually removing a person from a moving shot using projection mapping in After Effects. So this does not use any plugins other than the 3D camera tracker, and it's quite a complicated technique. So you're essentially projecting walls and elements into this 3D space of your scene to hide and obscure the elements you want to hide in your moving shot. It can get quite complicated, and so I think in Mocha they've kind of pulled all of that together, and Mocha itself has the ability to do that with the remove module. So I do want to talk about that at some point. Again, just don't know when and where it'll fit into the next tutorial, and you can obviously stabilize. But yeah, so far I think my personal favorite for tracking is Mocha. I know a lot of people like SynthEyes. SynthEyes is cheaper than Mocha. I think SynthEyes, you can get an entry-level version for $200, $300 or something. Mocha Pro, I think, costs $499 or $500 US. So SynthEyes is cheaper, and SynthEyes does have planar tracking and feature tracking and a lot of cool stuff. I haven't dealt too much with SynthEyes, but again, it's an alternative if you want to use that. Personally, I just like Mocha. Also, I've just noticed that I don't think I've actually switched over to my desktop. Yes, let me switch over to my desktop so you can actually see this. Apologies, I just rambled on there. Well, I reckon this will happen first time I'll do a live stream because I can't quite see too many screens at once. Let me collapse this a little so I can see this a little easier on my right here. What you can actually see. So I personally like Mocha because you can apply it. You can launch Mocha from After Effects, and you can then obviously do all your tracking here and export it. The tutorial I was talking about, sorry for that. If you just go to youtube.com, I'm just going to do that again. Internet, don't do me wrong. And you search for Render Reaper and search for projection mapping. This tutorial here, Render Reaper, this is the one I mentioned. Highly recommended. Go check that out if you want to know how to remove moving objects from a moving shot. And then obviously what I'll be doing at some point, because the Mocha Pro, again, has camera solve for 3D camera solving. It has a remove module, and you can stabilize. There's a whole bunch of extra stuff in here that I do want to cover at some point. I hope, yeah, now you should be able to see my screen. Man, well, could be worse. Anyways, so let's move on to some more questions. Do you use the Creative Cloud, and if so, what plan? Yes, I am on the Adobe Creative Cloud. A lot of people ask me what I actually use. Now, I have the Adobe Creative Cloud, and I think I have, back when I signed up, there was only the cloud or nothing. You couldn't actually get the individual ones. So I have access to the full Adobe suite for about, I think it's gone up a little. It's $50 a month, or $49.99 or something a month. I get access to all Adobe tools. So I have After Effects, Premiere, Photoshop, Lightroom, Audition, Illustrator, and basically all of the other ones that I don't actually use too much. Personally, I do actually really like the Adobe Creative Cloud. It makes it really easy, especially because I can use the tools on any computer I want. I just log in, download it, and you can only have it active on 2 computers at once. But if you have 3 computers, you can use it on 2. The moment you switch onto that one, you just disable one, and then you turn on the next one. So you have a lot of control with it. It's quite easy to use. One of the things that I do recommend, though, with Adobe Creative Cloud is that every time a new version comes out, hold off for a little bit, because I've been burned once or twice when a new version of After Effects came out, new version of Premiere Pro came out. I'm like, oh yeah, shiny. Downloaded it straight away, and it ended up being a little bit not too stable in the very first release. Happened with CC 2017, to be honest. After Effects was quite crashy when I first downloaded it, so I recommend. Adobe Creative Cloud is great, gives you access to everything. I believe you can also get After Effects and Premiere Pro in like a bundle, in like a smaller bundle. I think that's $25 or $30 a month, so you get smaller packages. Because I use more tools like Photoshop and Lightroom and Audition, I just got the full Adobe Creative Cloud. But then, yeah, just be aware, don't always jump onto the latest. I've been burnt a few times. But overall, I really like the Creative Cloud. It makes everything so much easier. Can use it anywhere I want, and I've got all the tools available at any point in time. So, have I ever thought about being an actor? No, you do not want me acting. Really, you do not. I can do a straight face, and I can do a sad face, and that's probably about it. My rap sheet for an actor would be very sad. It would just be like 2 little images next to each other. It's like normal and, sad. Or maybe normal, sad, and excited. I think I can do excited. But I don't think I'd be a good actor. As much fun as that would be, okay, the question, what computer setup do I have? Well, that's actually quite easy to find out. If this time I'm going to switch over to my desktop. There's my desktop. So if you go to my second YouTube channel, so if you go to youtube.com/Surface Studio 2, that's actually my second YouTube channel. I've got some more randomly videos on here, some vlogs and other things. And in my videos, I actually made a video about that a while ago. Where is it? Best computer for After Effects. Now,
Want to add a major?
no, I do not want to do that. Yeah, won't be able to skip it unless I play it. So maybe let's just skip that through. So in this video, I actually talk about my current setup, and I'm still running that machine right now. I do have an i7, a Devil's Canyon. I think it's 4700 something something. So it is an i7. I've got 16 gig of RAM. I've got a GTX, let me see, GTX 760 in my machine. So it is quite powerful. It's got quite a lot of good stuff. I've got SSD drives, which made a huge difference in my setup. Now, obviously, this video, it's called the best computer for After Effects because nobody's going to search for an average computer for Adobe After Effects. I have a follow-up video on what I mean with the best, because people tend to misunderstand it as, you know, this person said it's the best, so it's the best for everyone ever, which is not the case. And I've rambled about that topic often enough. I'm not going to do that here. But yeah, you can check that out. It's on my second channel. It is literally my full setup. Also, if you go to surfacestudio.com on my website itself, I actually have some written notes as well. I made a blog post about that. Let me see if I can actually find it down in here. So it's essentially just, you know, the same thing. It's the link to the video, but then also just a few notes about the CPU, the RAM, the hard drives and graphics card, and other considerations. Obviously, there are some things that I would change now, but I've actually been really happy with the setup for about 1.5 years now. It's been a while that January 2015 is when I made this video. So yeah, it's been over a year. I've been really happy with the setup. Actually, geez, no, January 27th. It's been 2 years. For 2 years, this computer has held up really well. So very happy with it. Yeah, check that out. There's lots of considerations of what you might want to get, and obviously what your budget is and whatnot. But so that's hopefully should answer that. Yes, Jeff. Yeah, I think it's the 4970. I think is the official. Yeah, 4790K is the Devil's Canyon. Spot on. Do I do projects for clients? No, I don't actually do projects for clients because, as I mentioned in my official Q&A on my main channel, I have a full-time job, which is in the IT industry. I'm a software engineer by trade, so that's where my money comes from. Also, most of the free time then goes into YouTube. So obviously, I want to spend that time learning and making tutorials and making videos. And if I took on additional client work, I'd have to kind of squeeze that in my after hours time already. And as much as that would be fun and I'd like to get involved in a few things, it kind of depends on what capacity. Like, I like being more in an advisory role of these are some of the considerations, here are some of the things to think about. Because the hands-on doing, as much fun as that is, that's also the one that takes the most time. Like, you know, let's say your clients want you to, I don't know, rotoscope a person out of a 2-minute shot. You may be sitting there for 2 weeks just rotoscoping people, just rotoscoping stuff. And as much as that may be rewarding at the end, it's just really time consuming. I wouldn't have the time for it. I'd much rather focus on learning new software, making short films and videos, and then making tutorials for them, because that's really what I like outside of my work. Plus, because I have a full-time job, I wouldn't know where to get the time from. Any 3D Max tutorials coming up? Probably not from me at any point in time soon, just because I'm not, I'm just not a free artist. As I said, I'm starting to learn Houdini a little bit. If you're looking for 3D Max tutorials though, let me jump back to YouTube. Jayla, let me hope I'm typing this correctly. Yep. If you go to youtube.com, Brandon Jayla, and this is Brandon from the Freddy W channel, he's actually got quite a lot of tutorials on 3D Studio Max because that is his main tool on his channel. Highly recommend. Go check that out. But obviously, you can also just YouTube, Google for 3D Studio Max tutorials. There's quite a lot of things out there because the tool's been around for a while. So there's nothing terribly new here. But Brandon Jayla has some good ones. Just introductory stuff for 3D Studio Max. Highly recommend it. I might do some at some point, maybe on PFlow, but I'm kind of leaning towards Houdini at this point in time, but it remains to be seen. A bit too early for me to make any committing decisions on that just yet. Have you done much in Illustrator, integration with After Effects and making great motion graphics? No, I've started using Illustrator a little bit for some graphics that I've been wanting to do. It's not the most intuitive of interfaces, in my opinion. Now, you can do some great stuff with it in terms of, it does vector arts or vector graphics. It's really just a graphics design tool. You can do some cool stuff with it. quite complex though if you're first getting into it, just because I don't find it as intuitive. Like just assigning a color to an object, I found difficult to find out. I had to Google that because I just couldn't figure it out just from the interface, because it just wasn't as straightforward. Now, it's a great tool. I haven't used it too much. I prefer Photoshop for most of my image work or other graphics that I do. I usually just do Photoshop. Unless there's a need for me, or there's a need for it to be vector art, I just go with Photoshop. It's just easier to use, and maybe I'll make a tutorial on that at some point. Illustrator, not so much. Yep, no worries at all. There's some great stuff for 3D Studio Max on there. Rutu Joshi, yeah, there's some great tutorials for 3D Studio Max. And yeah, just go check them out. Especially Brandon Jayla is pretty good at explaining his stuff as well. Now, the other question, and I'm getting this both on all of my YouTube channels, Facebook, Twitter, and on the chat right now quite a bit, is like, can you watch my video? Here's a link. I'd love to have the time to watch everyone's videos. The reality, though, is that I get sent a lot of videos. I get sent a lot of links. I'm going to have some water now because I'm running out of voice. I get sent a lot of links of, can you watch this link and tell me how it's done? Or can you watch my video and give me some feedback? Now, I'd love to do all of that, but every time I get home after work, I have 20, 30, 40 links from people to go and watch somewhere. And it's not feasible for me to go through them all and watch them as much as I would love to. There are odd times when I'm kind of, click on one here and there and just kind of check it out and leave some feedback or explain something. For the most part, I just don't have the time. Because I have a full-time job and I want to spend all my spare time making more videos and learning new things and making more tutorials, I don't have time to sit down for quite a while to essentially watch through all of these things and then analyze them, think about them, and answer. So it's not that I don't want to, it's just not feasible time-wise anymore because I get too many of them. The other thing that happens a lot as well, some people get offended that I didn't watch their video. A lot of the times when you send me links, be that on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, they get filtered out. They're considered spam, right? Because it's maybe a link off to somewhere in the net. It may be to who knows what. So a lot of the time they just end up in my spam somewhere, not because I mark them as spam, but because YouTube filters them out. YouTube says, oh, this is a link that goes to a website or some reference that we don't know what that is. It'll just put it in my spam folder. I may not even see it for a week or two. And because I do get a lot of them, I just may not be getting around to them. Now, feel free to send them to me. You may get lucky that I click on one, but it's just, there's so many coming in and it takes time to go through them and answer. So, yeah, I just won't get around to them all the time. Jeff, I'm not sure whether... See, I think if I was a robot, I probably wouldn't have drunk that water to begin with unless I had some special cavity to absorb the water without interfering with all my circuits. We can try that again. But I think what you may have heard is me placing the cup on the table that then jitters the microphone that's sitting in front of me. So I don't think I'm a robot. I'm hoping that me drinking water proves that, but not 100% sure. So let's go back to some other question. That's the other one I get. That's the other one I get a lot. Let's jump back into After Effects. How do you change the color of After Effects? Like in some videos, you see me have an orange version or a blue version, or I think that was a green version, and they go, how did he do that? The way you do that is you upgrade your software. Different versions of After Effects have different color schemes. I think CC 2016 was blue, CC 2015 I think was orange, and the previous ones had different colors. It's not me changing it, it's just me upgrading my software. So if you want a different version, a different colored version of After Effects, you will just have to upgrade your software to whatever version that is. It's not me magically changing things. Now, I think you do have some control over how the interface looks, but I just leave it on the default, and then it just comes with whatever color that version comes with. Nothing that I do in specific. Okay, so some more questions. Da-da-da. Now, it's not that I don't want to answer all your questions. There's just so many of them. I need to pick some of them. Huevonalupita is asking, any Trapcode particular tutorials coming up soon? I'm actually planning on making one. I actually have some on my tutorial. Well, I have two that use Trapcode particular, which are my fireworks tutorials, which I have on my channel already that you can check out. But I have actually, during the Christmas break, during Red Giant, which is the company that makes Trapcode particular. Let me jump over there for a second. Let's go to redgiant.com. Now, Red Giant makes the Trapcode suite, which contains Trapcode particular. I actually purchased this one as part of their holiday sale, which I think they had 50 or 60% off. That was a really good sale. It by default, or if you bought the whole suite, which includes a whole bunch of different effects, it's actually $999 US. It's quite pricey, but once a year in December, Red Giant tends to do, they don't do Black Friday, they skip Black Friday, but then early December, they do a December sale, and that's usually, I think it was 40% off. I think it was 40% off the package and everything on their website. So I waited for that and I bought the whole Trapcode suite 13.1, so I upgraded to the latest version. And I am planning on making some tutorials for Trapcode particular, because it is much more powerful in After Effects. Let's call this particles. In After Effects, you do have CC Particle World, and you've seen me use this effect quite a number of times for different sorts of things. Now, it is decent for what you get out of the box, given that you don't have to pay for it, or you don't really have to do anything for it. So you can create some cool looking particle effects. But the big one, the big player, and you'll actually see this used in TV shows and movies for all sorts of other things, is Trapcode particular. Now, it is a lot more involved. It now, in the latest version, actually comes with an effects builder, which is kind of cool. So you get like a little interface. So you can actually kind of construct your particle effects through an interface. And you can create all sorts of cool looks and effects and kind of preview them and change styles and colors and shading operators and all sorts of other things. So Trapcode particular has gotten quite sophisticated, and I do plan on making a tutorial for it. I just need to find a good reason to use it and a cool effect to do. But yes, there will be tutorials coming for Trapcode particular and some of the other stuff that is in the Red Giant Trapcode suite, just because I purchased it in December. I just need to get around to actually doing all of that, because again, everything I do just takes time, and I just need to figure out what I do when and how it makes sense. So, but yes, it'll be coming at some point. So, Crush Gaming, can you use photo for a particle, like a snowflake, for instance? Yes, you can. You can do that both in CC Particle World and in Trapcode particular. You can simply, let me jump over, particles, and this is in Trapcode particular as well. You can change these ones to be textured polygons, and then you can essentially select the texture in here, which, you just import an image and you just select it as a texture, and then that'll be on your particles. So that you can do both with Trapcode particular and CC Particle World. So yes, and I use that a lot for smoke and fire, or snowflakes, or anything else. Even my even the tutorial I did on Surface Studio, if I jump back in here to my channel. If you want to know more about particles, especially CC Particle World, I've done one recently. There it is, Fairy Glitter. Now, it might be a bit of a girly effect, and we're going to learn more about wicks. Now, this, let me see where it is. There you go. So it's a little bit of a girly effect, and we're doing this with CC Particle World, so this is not using Trapcode particular, and this one has images or a composition as the particles, so you can obviously style them and shape them and make them glow and do all sorts of other cool stuff with it. So it's pretty cool what you can already do just with with the CC Particle World effect. So yeah, you have lots of options right there. Okay, see you later. Some people starting to go. So thank you very much for tuning in, and holy crap, it's already been over an hour. So I think, let me see if there's maybe one or two more questions, and I think I'll be wrapping this up as well, because my voice is starting to get a little bit dry now, and if I drink more water, my circuits might fry. Cool. Thank you very much, Lucas. Lucas Kiermaier. Yes, you're very welcome. And to anyone else, I feel really humbled that people appreciate my videos and my really weird type of humor. So I think I'm really lucky with all of the people that have kind of gathered around my channel and are now kind of part of this little community, because everybody's really friendly and supportive, and I really love making tutorials for you guys and just interacting with you, because everyone's just friendly. And can I do a backflip? Probably not on my seat. I would do it on the beach. I probably wouldn't do it here. I don't know whether I can. It would probably end up really horrible and I'd be injured for another week. So I'm probably not going to do that. But what I was saying, yes, thank you all for always, being so friendly, being part of the community. And again, thanks, Jeff. Jeff, does Walter have a girlfriend? No, Walter does not have a girlfriend. So if any of you is available, he's still looking. Unfortunately, because he's not a good conversationalist, so I'm not sure what you talk about, but no, Walter does not have a girlfriend yet. Oh wow, it's 3 o'clock in Denmark. Well, thank you very much for tuning in Denmark. As in 3 o'clock in the morning. So thank you very much for tuning in on that one. So what else do we have? Any plan for scripts tutorials? Noob Dude, what scripts do you mean? Do you mean After Effects scripts like expressions? So you might have to clarify that a little bit. In terms of HitFilm tutorials, I do plan on making some more HitFilm ones as well, because I know people like HitFilm, especially HitFilm Express, because it's free. And again, if you are starting out, maybe that might be my last point for today. If you are just starting out, let me just go back to my videos. I have a video on my channel for, where is it? HitFilm for Express. Now, this one I highly recommend you check out if you haven't started, or if you're looking for a great piece of software that you can use for free to start visual effects and all sorts of cool video editing. Go get yourself HitFilm Express. Maybe I should go hitfilm.com Express. This is a free software tool, and make sure you're getting the Express version. A lot of people end up downloading the demo version of the Pro, which is limited to, I believe, 30-second export. Make sure you get the Express version, which is free. You just need to sign up for a free account, and so you'll just get a few news and update emails and whatnot. This one is highly recommended. It's really great. I'm planning on making some more tutorials for it. I just need to use it a little bit more, and now that there's HitFilm 2017, which has come out, obviously want to kind of get into that and learn a little bit more myself, because I haven't used HitFilm as extensively as I would have liked, but highly recommended. They also have a really great community. They have great videos themselves. So if you actually go to youtube.com, HitFilm, they have a YouTube channel themselves. They make lots of tutorials on the software, and that is totally not the right one. So maybe I'll go youtube.com and I'll search for HitFilm. HitFilm. That'll be the first thing that'll come up. There, HitFilm, there you go. So that's the user. FX Home HitFilm is the user. So just go here. They've got tons of great stuff. Subscribe to them. They've got tons of tutorials for HitFilm Express and all of their products. So you can just go there and check all of that out. And yes, there will be more advanced expression tutorials for After Effects. It's part of my series. I just kind of have paused everything a little bit while I'm transitioning to something else. So I believe, I think maybe that'll be it for the first stream. If you guys like the stream, leave me comments either in the chat on Facebook or Twitter. I can definitely do these once again if you did enjoy it. Certainly an interesting experience for me. Maybe I'll also switch back to the camera view so you can see me. It was very interesting. Thank you very much to everyone who tuned in. I'm think I've got a little bit of a setup going here now, so hopefully this will be a little bit smoother next time, and maybe I'll go straight for wiring this off my phone rather than trying to use the wireless device. So thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you for watching, commenting, and just being part of the community. It's fun to be around you guys. So, and thank you very much, Jeff, for helping out so much. Actually, next time, I think I can actually set people as moderators in my chat, so maybe I'll do that next time, because I think you get a little bit more power. Although I think you've done a great job already just keeping everyone up to date with everything. So yes, greetings to Argentina, Denmark, Bangladesh, US, everywhere else in the world. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll definitely do this one again. If you want, just leave me some comments down below. There's so much more to answer, so much more to ramble on about, and if you want to put up with my face a little bit more, just let me know. But yes, new tutorial will be coming next weekend, or well, the first part of a new tutorial, so look out for that. And until then, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, social media, anything else. But thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I will see you later.